Arthur M. Okun, Equality and Efficiency REV, The Big Tradeoff, a Brookings classic. Immerse yourself in the captivating world of Equality and Efficiency REV, The Big Tradeoff, a Brookings classic, by Arthur M. Okun. This thought-provoking book addresses the delicate balance between human rights and the market in American capitalist democracy. Okun emphasizes the significance of ensuring prosperity and justice while exploring 5 characteristics of U.S. rights. Discover the ideologies of libertarianism, pluralism, and humanism and their implications on the market. Also, delve into the complex factors that impact an individual's financial success and the role of government in addressing problems, such as discrimination and income inequalities.
The trade-offs of American rights. The existing economic and social disconnect in American capitalist democracy seems hypocritical. However, maintaining a balance between human rights and the market is necessary for prosperity and justice. American rights have 5 characteristics, and they all come at a social and financial cost, regardless of personal circumstances. These characteristics also illustrate a trade-off between equality and efficiency, as the prohibition against buying and selling rights infringes on personal freedom. While Americans have basic human rights, institutions encourage competition for economic success while enforcing social conformity. 3 philosophical approaches to freedom and equality. The book discusses 3 philosophical approaches to freedom and equality in relation to the government, the market, and human motives. Libertarians believe in limiting the government's power but allow for market regulations to prevent harm. Pluralists argue that the market is imperialistic and that human rights must be preserved by limiting market expansion. Humanists maintain that human motives and interests are the foundation of a viable society and promote fairness for all. However, restrictions on the market must strike a balance between preserving freedom and preventing inequality, as rulers have used economic controls to maintain power. The unfair advantage of money. Money can buy advantages such as paying for bail or hiring experienced lawyers. It also allows corporations to engage in antisocial behavior that harms workers. However, breaking up corporations or instituting high taxes on the rich will not solve this issue. Instead, specific aids and sanctions must target exact violations. The paradox of self-interest. The book explores the paradox of self-interest in American society, where the majority support the free market despite the inequities it creates. While radicals argue that the media, owned by the wealthy, feed false information to maintain this support, conservatives believe that an efficient market benefits the majority. The rising tide lifts all boats, and extreme poverty or wealth is viewed as flaws, not fundamental defects of the system. Despite ethical concerns, self-interest motivates individuals to work for the good of their communities. Attempts to force people to give up self-interest have resulted in more oppressive societies. The book defines efficiency as getting the most out of human effort, physical capital, and natural resources. Ultimately, people hope to reap the benefits of an efficient market and avoid government intervention that would force them to share their gains with others. The invisible hand and its limitations. Adam Smith's invisible hand theory explains that the self-interest of consumers and manufacturers results in an efficient market that meets society's needs without regulation. However, the market can be distorted by anti-competitive practices and advertising, and it does not account for negative environmental effects or inequality. The government had to intervene during the Great Depression to save millions of people from unemployment caused by the market's failures. Although the invisible hand is a useful concept, it has its limitations and cannot be relied upon completely. Socialism and the public ownership conundrum. Socialists believe that the government should own income-producing property, which would make it the primary employer of labor. However, such a system would lead to serious economic problems, including enormous costs for the government. It would also crush individual choice and freedom as the state would regulate who took which kinds of jobs and where. The idea of socialism proposes that the government should own income-producing property and become the principal employer of labor. However, this proposition is flawed, and it would lead to serious economic issues if put into practice. For instance, moving to a public ownership system would not necessarily lead to increased social equality, better income distribution, or a more efficient market system. Instead, it would create significant problems as the government would be stuck imitating a natural market, which has its fair share of issues, including monopolies and unemployment. Moreover, the cost of taking over income-producing property would be enormous, and if the government had to pay market value, it would have no money left over to increase the standards of living for the poor. On the other hand, if the government paid less than market value, owners would rebel, resulting in terrible social chaos. If professionals receive only slightly more pay than unskilled workers, companies would hire more professionals, resulting in a shortage of such workers. Also, if the state were the sole employer, companies would no longer compete for talent, and workers would have no motivation to move up or change jobs. Additionally, public ownership of everything would crush individual choice and freedom as the state would regulate who takes which kinds of jobs and where. In a society where the sole employer is the state, opposition means death by slow starvation. People would only get to eat if they obeyed the state, replacing the previous principle that those who do not work shall not eat with a new one, who does not obey shall not eat. However, public ownership of some things would benefit society. Government institutions such as the Social Security System, the National Institutes of Health, and the National Science Foundation, among others, function smoothly and serve the public well. Furthermore, the park system preserves wilderness land for future generations. In conclusion, although the idea of socialism has its benefits in specific government-owned institutions, the public ownership of income-producing property would create significant problems such as cost, lack of individual choice and freedom, and would not necessarily lead to increased social equality or a more efficient market system as argued by socialists. Therefore, the mixed U.S. economy works better than a pure socialist or capitalist system. Unraveling family income disparities. Despite incomes doubling between World War II and the early 1970s, the percentage gaps between rich and poor have remained relatively constant. However, a family's financial situation or class position can't fully be explained by the amount of money they make as other influences come into play, including needs, supplementary sources, voluntary non-monetary sacrifices, and non-monetary bonuses. American capitalism still provides higher living standards compared to alternative systems, even with disparities present due to factors like talent, inherited wealth, and market trends. These uncontrollable factors affect people randomly, some leading to success and others to failure. The book argues that people's choices are not the only determinants of their financial position, and it is worth keeping in mind all the factors, both controllable and uncontrollable, that can lead to such disparities in society. Inequality in America. America's belief in a fair race is a myth. Unequal opportunity based on social status, abilities, race, and gender curtails individual freedom, creates inefficiency in the market, and generates a self-perpetuating cycle of inequality. This cycle is sustained by opponents of public financing who want to preserve their individual freedom to influence elections with money. However, money should not be something that can buy elections. Employers must differentiate between accommodating employees' preferences for air conditioning and promoting racial/gender equality, and where government steps in, a gain in wages and salaries ensues. The increasing gap between rich and poor in America's capitalist democracy should be addressed by increasing the progressivism of the federal tax system and redistributing wealth to the poor through transfer payments or negative taxes. Such programs would benefit the poor while maintaining the rich's economic status, increasing efficiency, equality, and opportunities.
As you reach the end of Equality and Efficiency REV, the Big Tradeoff, you'll have gained valuable insights into the intricate relationship between human rights and the market in American capitalist democracy. Okun highlights the importance of maintaining this fragile balance to ensure both prosperity and justice for all. Deepen your understanding of how ideologies like libertarianism, pluralism, and humanism shape the market and affect equality and efficiency. Lastly, reflect on the pressing issues of discrimination and income inequality and the government's role in addressing these challenges in pursuit of a fairer society.